us on Gravitas today is Ambassador Mohamed Maliki, Morocco's ambassador to India. Ambassador Maliki, welcome to WION.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, Mrs. Sharma.
There's a lot that's making news with Morocco in the headlines. I want to start with the story that affects Morocco directly. The United States recognizing Morocco's claims of sovereignty over the disputed Saharan region. What does this decision mean for you and your country?
Well, let me start by thanking you and then saying that this is a historical decision coming from the highest authority of the United States after tough negotiations which lasted for more than 2 years and a half. It's also, in a way, joining the action to the words. The United States have believed always that there could be only a political solution to the Sahara issue, that the Moroccan proposal for the autonomy is the only proposal on the ground which is feasible, credible, which is also having the international community support. So the United States, by all this decision, is only confirming what they have been believing so for the last few years, in fact, since 2007. And I believe it is also of the interest of both the United States and then of Morocco within the strategic partnership to have this decision. 2 or 3 elements to remember about the decision of the United States, that Morocco was the first country to recognize the United States. It has a strategic partnership with the United States. It has also it's in Morocco where the largest and the biggest military exercise takes place yearly. It's called the African Line. So I think all these elements have also been taken into consideration by the administration, Trump administration, in taking this important decision and an historical decision for both countries, not only for Morocco. Then let me tell you, it's not the claim of Morocco, it's the reality on the ground. It's also reality by history. It's also reality by the people living there. And then the amount of enthusiasm that this decision has given is unprecedented. And I think we should be able to congratulate ourselves and then look into the future with more enthusiasm and also with more reality. I believe the decision of the United States coming from this is not only a simple decision, it's also a proclamation from the president. It's a commitment from the United States recognizing the sovereignty of Morocco. And then Morocco has never put on the table its territorial integrity. It has always defended and accepted all the discussions and all the negotiations within the framework of the Moroccan sovereignty. So the political solution which the United States are quite convinced of is also goes into this direction, and then it helps into finding a solution indeed. So we're quite happy about this historical decision. It's a momentum that will help peace into the region.
You say there will be peace, and we hope there is, but there is also fear that this recognition will intensify the conflict between the Moroccan government and the Polisario Front rebels. What is the situation like at the front right now, where a 3-decade-long ceasefire was shattered in November?
I believe that the ceasefire was broken by the militia of the Polisario when they entered the buffer zone in the Gargarat and then preventing all the people from moving freely from Morocco to Mauritania to other African countries, and then also preventing the movement of the population. They cannot do it, and then His Majesty and then the government of Morocco informed the Secretary General of the United Nations and then all the members of the violations that have been made, and then that it's also had the right to defend its territorial integrity and then to defend this buffer zone and then to re-establish the communication between the Morocco and then the rest of the African countries. So the ceasefire was broken first by them. Second, we are always, and then we will be committed to the ceasefire, and then we have repeated it. In fact, the provocation didn't come from Morocco. The third element is Morocco is on its land, and then population are enjoying their lives and then enjoying their stability. For for population of the Polisario Front, they have always been steady on their position. They haven't been able to move. They haven't been able to find a practical solution within the framework of the Moroccan autonomy. And I don't think there will be some escalation in this sense, because the realities are also on the ground and they are in favor of peace, what I would say, for the time being.
Right. The United States is the only world power to issue such a recognition, and it's a very important recognition, as you've said. But the UN Security Council resolutions mandate a referendum over the Sahara region, and most countries in the world recognize this call for a referendum. So how does the American recognition help if other countries are not willing to recognize Morocco's position?
Allow me to tell you that there are two misinformations here. The first one, the United States is not the only country which recognizes the sovereignty of Morocco over its Sahara. It is the member of the Security Council. That is very important. It is also the pen holder of the draft resolutions for the Moroccan Sahara, which is debated in the Security Council and then which is mandated to find a peaceful solution for this conflict. And then let me remind you also that out of 193 countries, 160 have either never recognized or have withdrawn their recognition of this so-called entity. So what has been said is not true. The second element, the referendum, to which you are mentioning, has been left out for more than a decade. In fact, since the proposal of Morocco in 2007, it has always been asking for a political lasting solution for this conflict. And then the Security Council has always considered that the Moroccan proposal for autonomy of the population of the Sahara region is serious and credible, and then constitutes a very sound base for finding a solution. So I don't see any contradiction in that, because the political solution is the only issue for this conflict. And I believe that after the events basically of Gargarat, and then of the agitations and of the breaking of the ceasefire by the Polisario militias, the world has known the danger that could this entail, and then they have also been able to observe by themselves that there should be a very quick solution to this conflict, so that peace and tranquility will come, and then so that we will look into the development of our relations with the neighbors, and then for the benefits of the world at large.
Was this recognition by Washington a precondition for Morocco establishing diplomatic ties with Israel?
I believe that big and well-established countries do not bargain on principles. And then for any Moroccan, from the top, that is His Majesty, to the last layman, we have two national issues. The Sahara issue, Moroccan Sahara issue, is crucial. The Palestinian issue is very important, and then according even to the communique of the Royal Palace, it's equally important to Moroccans. So we are not jeopardizing, we are not bargaining. These are two important and different issues. They all go for peace, and it is quite important for the Moroccan population. And on the other side, let me tell you that it is not a normalization or recognition of Israel. In fact, it's only the reactivation of the mechanisms which already existed, a diplomatic mechanism, the cooperation that was already taking place. And then if I would remind the respected audience, we had between 1994 and 2002 a liaison office in Tel Aviv, and then Israel had a liaison office in Rabat. We had to withdraw it. But on the other hand, when it comes to the Jews, who Morocco has a specificity with all with Israel, because out of 8 to 9 million of the Israelis, minus plus 1 million are originated from Morocco. So this population has always looked into Morocco as its country, as its second country, and in fact, most of them consider His Majesty as their king. So they have by constitution. It is also important to remind that the Hebrew is a component of the identity of Morocco, equally as the Arabs and then the Berbers and then the Hassanis and then the Amazigh and so forth. So I think we had certain obligation by constitution also to take care of this diaspora living outside, of these expatriates Moroccan outside, and then the need, instead of finding different ways to go to Morocco and their festivities, they need to have also direct flight to be able to enjoy the tranquility and to enjoy their second country and their first country at the same time. Whenever they decided. It is also to be reminded that for the last year, not less than 70,000 Moroccan Jews came to hold their festivals in Morocco. Morocco also has the advantage, but also the difference from other countries in the sense that within the courts of Morocco, there is the Hebrew law. There is also the synagogues are still there. In the civil administration, they have their own laws which are followed. So they have not really cut the links like most of the other countries with their mother country. And I believe these are completely two issues which are not bargained on the table. That is important for Morocco, and it is important for the population of Palestine, these issues. When it comes to the Palestinian issue, I think that His Majesty made it quite clear after the phone call he had with the President Trump. He reminded the principles guiding the foreign policy of Morocco with regards to Palestine. That is, it's always believed firmly in the two-state solutions. He is also the president of the Committee Al-Quds, and it confers to him a large role to play in bringing back the peace. The third thing is that the negotiations between the Palestinians and the Israelis to find a lasting solution is quite important, because that is the clue for the peace in the Middle East. So these are two important issues which were not put into the balance and put into jeopardizing. And I think the position of Morocco, and by the community it has also there, which reached a high level in being ministers, in being councillors, in being ambassadors from this origin, have always played a positive role in bringing the two people together to find a peaceful solution in that regards.
Right, but critics still say that with this agreement, Morocco may have alienated Palestine, or some elements in Palestine that could side with the Polisario rebels. Is that a concern that you share? And are you saying here on the show that Morocco remains committed to the Palestinian cause despite having established ties with Israel?
Not at all. We are not putting one on the expense of the other. And I think Morocco is a very responsible country. It has always proven to be a responsible country, historically, but also nowadays on this politics. So there is no change at all in the positions. And then we are quite conscious that also the Palestinians are aware of the importance of the Sahara, Moroccan Sahara for all the Moroccans. And then this fake news which had come lately about the youth supporting the Polisario is completely fake. And then there has been also official announcement that there was no communique or no statement as such. So I believe that they are quite aware of the importance. We are quite aware of the importance of the issue, and then the two things are not contradictory. We should be able to work together to find a solution in both regions for the peace and tranquility for all the people. And I think Morocco has always, in through history, and then it is also recognized, a positive role in bringing together the Palestinians and the Israelis. And I think the two-state solutions will be the ultimate solution for all these events. on the kind of, it will be any effects on the relations between Morocco and Palestine. I don't think so. Because also we believe that Palestinians are responsible people and that they have always recognized the role that Morocco is playing in this regard. So let's please, it's so cold that I'm making that we shouldn't make the amalgam between the two. Maybe the way the information has been given and the two big events or two big news have been proclaimed made or give the impression that they were the two. But I can assure you that the recognition of the United States of the sovereignty of Morocco over the Sahara has been steady and very tough negotiations that has come along since, I think, 2 years and a half at least. So let's keep these two issues quite separate, please. Thank you.
Sure. Morocco, as we've been reporting here on WION, has become the 4th Arab country to begin normalizing relations with Israel. But as you mentioned, the two countries have maintained a relationship for more than half a century. So what will change with this formal declaration?
As I stated a little bit earlier, it's the reactivation of the diplomatic and of the cooperation between Morocco and Israel. What will happen on the ground, that the direct flights will start very soon, and then the population, Moroccan population and living in Israel who are binationals can travel very easily. That's a very good step. It's a step also for peace. Then secondly, we should be able to activate some other cooperation, like in IITs, like in agriculture, like in some areas where either Morocco or Israel have reached a certain very known and then we recognize expertise. I would say the fertilizer from our side, I would say also energy, and then I think we should be able in the near future to discuss together what could be the form of this cooperation. So it's only a reactivation of what was already going on.
Right. It's a reactivation. Why has the Moroccan government only committed to reopening its liaison offices with Israel and not embassies or consulates like the other Arab nations?
I think the Royal Palace communique has stated that there are steps, and then we committed to reopening the liaison offices very soon, and then later on for the full diplomatic relations. And it's only time is always, there are things that come by time. And I think whatever is in the communique, Morocco is always committed to whatever it said. It has always been transparent. It has always been responsible. And then we don't hide things. Whatever we are going to do, whatever the Morocco is committed to do, we'll do it in time. And everything has a time when time comes, I believe.
Right. India too has friendly ties with Israel. How do you think Morocco's relationship with India will change, or where do you see things going after this agreement with Israel? Are there any potential areas of convergence for India, Israel and Morocco?
I think the relations between Morocco and India are quite important, and the relations between Israel and India are quite important. And then I believe that the relations between Morocco and Israel are important for to serve the peace. And I think India has a positive role to play in this, in good offices. And then I think due to its position and then to the Moroccan position, they can help quite a lot. They can bring innovative solutions to find a long-standing solution in the Middle East. The other side, there should be also, I think, some areas which could constitute, and I'm just thinking, now that you're putting the question, I'm not really the decision taker, but I believe that there would be probably some areas where trilateral cooperation could import, because the Israel and Morocco and India are very known to be agricultural countries. with large population and the occupation of this domain. And I believe that would be one of the areas. So I think it's only the beginning. There will be definitely some ways of reinforcing the cooperation by transitivity somehow, because when you have a friend who has a good friendship with the other person, it also helps into bringing others to the table, into facilitating. And I think the two countries, that is Morocco and India, could play a very good role in facilitating the peace process in the Middle East.
Very interesting. Recently, a series of agreements were also signed in your presence at the India-Morocco Business Forum. Morocco has aimed to establish itself as India's business gateway to Africa, to Europe and the Arab world. How do you plan to accomplish this vision?
I think this agreement, which was done by the Exim Bank of India and then BMC Bank of Africa in Morocco, is a timely decision because it crowns a 5-year strong bilateral cooperation between the two countries. We have concluded like 43 agreements since the last visit of His Majesty on the margin of the Third Africa-India Summit. And then there was a very important historical meeting with His Majesty and then His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi, where they decided to elevate the relations into strategic partnership. And since then, we have been working, both the Moroccan government and the Indian government, to put concrete content for this strategic partnership. And I think the business communities have also been requesting to find very easy access to funding and very access to get investments both here in Morocco. And I think by this agreement, we are rendering very big service to our business communities to go along. And the strategic position of India in Asia as an important actor, both economically and politically. And then at the same time, Morocco being an important actor in its region, as a link between Europe, Africa, America, the Arab world, could constitute in both ways, that is Morocco for India and then India for Morocco, the gateways to expand their cooperation with the two regions. On the other side, we have seen recently a very growth momentum in the relations between India and then Africa. And then I believe such an agreement, but also the awareness of the business community in India to get into Africa through the gateway of Morocco is becoming quite concrete, and then it's quite helpful in facilitating the integration of the business communities from India, especially in the Western Africa, where Morocco has a large, I would say, presence through its bank, through its investments. And I was reading that the investments of Morocco in Africa has exceeded $6 billion. It remains the first African investor in Western Africa. It also remains the second largest African investor in all Africa. So I think Morocco has been playing a very positive role, and then I think India could benefit from this position. Or likewise, the Indians Morocco can benefit from the position of India and then extend their trade. It's also important to say that we have witnessed a steady development in our trade, and that for the last decade, we had an average of $1.5 billion of trade exchange, and then the last year we broke the record by reaching $2 billion. It's a very positive stand, and then I think the number of companies who exist from India and Morocco are quite important. They are growing also steadily. One more thing probably also to say about the relations between Morocco and India. Morocco has the largest public investment in Asia in India. It is something which a little bit surprises, but at the same time, I would say mainly in the fertilizers, but also Morocco through the company of the OCP, that is the world's largest fertilizer and phosphate company, is subsidizing not less than 39,000 farmers in India by giving them subsidies, by helping them into analyzing their soil, by finding the right fertilizers for these people. So I think the perspective of the relations between the two countries is quite promising. And then the last meeting and consultations between our two ministers last month confirmed this importance of the strategic relations that they have, and then that the decision to move forward for the benefits, of course, of the two nations and two people.
Right. Thanks very much, Ambassador Maliki, for joining us here on WION and for sharing your perspective with us.
I thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for watching Gravitas on WION's YouTube channel. If you want to stay up to date with what's happening around the world, then subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like and share. Thank you very much for watching WION. The world is one.